Recording in progress.
Call this meeting to order. Thank you, everyone. This is our Planning Commission meeting agenda, Monday, August 11th. And if we could rise and say the Pledge of Allegiance. Tom, if you could lead us.
Place your hand over your heart and repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Darlene, would you like to call roll?
Thank you. Chair Morrissey.
Here.
Commissioner Rosales.
Present.
Vice Chair Anthony.
Present.
Commissioner Redgate.
Indicated she would be absent this evening.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Gonzalez. Here. Commissioner Balma.
Present.
And Commissioner Dodds.
Present.
Okay. Do we have any communication on matters not on the agenda?
Chair Morrissey, no, we do not this evening.
Okay. If I could get a motion to approve the minutes of the prior meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Commissioner Rosales made the motion. Can I have a second?
A second.
Please vote.
Let the record show the motion passes 5 yes, 1 abstain.
Okay. I see nothing on the consent calendar or transportation items, so we can go right into public hearings. Item number 4 is consideration of a tentative map, development plan, and density bonus to allow the construction of 83 single-family homes on approximately 9.86 acres of a 16.78 acre site located along north side of Wahomie Lake Road, southeast of Albright Street and Wahomie Neighborhood Planning Area. If I could get the
disclosures.
Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Anthony.
Read the staff report, numerous emails and letters, and also visited the site.
Okay.
I read the staff report. I have enjoyed that area as a recreator and equestrian. I have talked to folks in the community and read all of the emails and letters that we've received.
Staff report, lots of emails, and very familiar with the site, been through there a number of times.
Yeah, I read the staff report, met one person at the property and some emails, and visited the site.
Staff report, lots of well-written emails and letters. I appreciate all your great writing skills out there. I also visited the site and talked to several neighbors.
Read staff report and numerous emails and letters and visited the site.
Thank you. So, Manny, you can make your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairperson Morrissey, members of the Planning Commission. Manny Baeza here, Principal Planner, presenting this item. This is a 3-part entitlement application. It includes a tentative map, development plan, and density bonus. The tentative map would subdivide the 16.78 acre site into 83 single-family residential lots and 6 common area lots. The development plan would be for the construction of 83 single-family detached homes and associated site improvements, including landscaping and recreational areas. And the density bonus is for a 20% density bonus in exchange for reserving 5% of the units, four units, for homes for very low income households. Here's an aerial of the project site. Again, it's 16.78 acres. Of that, 9.86 acres would be developed. The site has a land use designation of single-family detached residential and a zoning of single-family residential with a scenic park overlay and an equestrian overlay. Here's a zoom in of the project site. The site right now is undeveloped. To the north, south, and east are single-family residential development, and to the west is the Wahomie Regional Park. The project would develop the southerly 9.86 acres. You see the red line there on the aerial that shows generally where the development would take place on the southerly part of the site. On the northerly 6.92 acres, this area contains a habitat including sage scrub and riparian forest. As part of this map, the 6.92 acres would be reserved for open space. Here's the project site. Again, 83 single-family residential lots and 6 common area lots for the street, the private street, open space, recreational space, and water quality basins. The lots range in size from 2,464 square feet to 5,390 square feet. The project proposes 2 access drives off of Wahomie Lake Road. It includes a looped interior road, which provides access within the project site. All homes would front on this private looped road. As part of this project, a large open space lot is proposed in the center as an area of 35,151 square feet for project residents to use. Also, all lots have private backyards for their use, for their private use. The project would improve its Wahomie Lake Road frontage. It also paves an additional 200 feet from the project boundary to Albright Street. The project would also extend sewer lines from the intersection of Old Ranch Road to Wahomie Lake Road, from that intersection all the way to the project site. The project is proposing 3 styles of architecture, progressive prairie, ranch, and farmhouse architecture. All the homes would be 2 stories and would be 4 to 5 bedrooms in size with 2.5 bedrooms, and all homes will have 2-car garages. Project exteriors consist of earth tone colors with concrete tile roofs, stucco siding, and board and batten siding or lap siding. Plan 1 homes, the project mix has 21 Plan 1 homes, 22 Plan 2 homes, and 40 Plan 3 homes. In order to calculate the density bonus for this project, you take the base density of the RS district, which is 5.9 dwelling units per acre, and you multiply that by the developable 12.45 acres, which allows for 74 units. From that, you take 5% of those units and reserve those will be reserved for very low-income households. By doing this, you're entitled to a 20% density bonus, which equates to 15 additional units. However, the applicant is only proposing 9 additional units. The total possible with the density bonus is 89 dwelling units, but only 83 are being proposed for this project. This would result in a density of 6.67 dwelling units per acre. State density bonus law entitles projects to incentives and concessions for developments of financially feasible, affordable units. Denying a requested incentive or concession or waiver is prohibited unless findings are made that granting results in a specific adverse impact defined as a significant, quantifiable, direct, and unavoidable impact based on objective, identified written public health or safety standards, policies, or conditions. Inconsistency with the zoning ordinance or general plan shall not constitute a specific adverse impact on public health or safety. The applicant is not requesting an incentive concession for this project. The applicant is requesting a number of waivers for a reduction in lot sizes, for a reduction in lot widths, an increase in lot depth to width ratio, for a reduction in building setbacks, for an increase in lot coverage limitations, an increase in retaining wall heights, and they want waivers from the equestrian development standards as well. There were 2 public outreach meetings held for this project. They were held at the Melba Bishop Recreation Center on September of 2022 and April of 2023. The staff report actually has it at the wrong location, so I'm just correcting that here as part of the record. Staff has received over 20 letters in opposition to this project from the public. The common concerns include site access, increased traffic, emergency ingress, egress, preservation of biological resources, soil conditions, noise, and air quality. An environmental impact report was prepared to analyze the environmental impacts of this project. There was a scoping meeting held on November 15, 2022. The concerns raised during the scoping period included concerns with site access, biological resources, circulation and traffic, air quality, greenhouse gas, open space, recreation, utilities, and public infrastructure. The draft EIR underwent a 45-day review period that ran from November 20th, 2024 to January 10th, 2025. 37 letters were received on the draft EIR. The draft EIR identified significant impacts to air quality, biological resources, cultural resources, and geology and soils. Mitigation measures proposed by the draft EIR would reduce impacts to a less than significant level for all identified topic areas. One mitigation measure under biological resources was omitted from the Mitigation Monitoring and Reporting Program, the MMRP. The final EIR and MMRP have been updated, and the updated MMRP has been provided to the Planning Commission and also is on the city's website for public review. The project is conditioned to comply with all the mitigation measures in the MMRP, and with their implementation, the project will not have a significant adverse impact to the environment. Staff is recommending that the Planning Commission by motion certify the EIR and adopt the associated findings of fact and mitigation monitoring and reporting program by adopting Planning Commission Resolution 2025 P23 and approve the tentative map, development plan, and density bonus by adopting Planning Commission Resolution 2025 P20 with findings and conditions of approval attached herein. That concludes staff's presentation.
Commissioner Rosales.
Thank you, Manny. You had one slide that had bullet points. I wonder if you can touch on the that one. Go back to that one.
This guy?
Yeah. The 'cause I saw in looking through a lot of the emails a lot of similar themes. They're outlined here, but the last one, number 7, the equestrian development standard waiver and the overlay area that this project sits in. Can you go into a little more depth on both the standards that are being asked to be waived and policy-wise for the city, what does that equestrian overlay area entail, and how does that play into this?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not that familiar with the equestrian development standards, although under state law, you are allowed to waive all development standards. And so, I mean, they're entitled to ask for this waiver of those specific standards. I think they have to do with height and other things. I'm not sure exactly. Hold on. I do have a table here, but I don't know that they're actually called out as whether they're equestrian development standards or not. Maybe the applicant can answer that.
If I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Commissioners, thank you so much, Commissioner Rosales, for the question. If you look on page 11 of the staff report, there is a description about the equestrian overlay district, and I'm going to just read a little bit about it. That its purpose, really, especially for Guajome Lake Park, is to provide recreational opportunities to establish an equestrian trail network. It's supposed to provide appropriate design standards and criteria for the protection of horses on private property. It's to create, enhance, and protect the equestrian and rural atmosphere within this overlay area. and integrating open space and urban areas with the horse trails. And finally, achieve a visually pleasing and compatible relationship between buildings and accessory structures, horse trails, open space and planting areas, and the natural environment.
Okay, thank you. That actually provides a good background. I guess in reading this or having you read it for us, would you characterize this development, which seems very different from what's already out there, being a little bit in conflict with these standards? It seems like this is quite different.
Well, as demonstrated by the request for waivers, the project is not compatible with the overlay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for staff?
The applicant has a presentation as well.
Commissioner Baumann.
Yeah, kind of wondering about the historic significance of that site and before. Like, I know that I noticed there was a house and a little road, but we couldn't really drive up it because it was closed. But what was that property used for in the past? And is there any existing equestrian trail system that goes through that site, like currently?
I'm not aware of any equestrian trails running through the site. The house was evaluated as part of the EIR. There was a cultural resources study done for it. The applicant's environmental consultant is here, and they can speak to that.
Thank you.
Manny, I noticed that the development's only going to improve the road in the confines of the development, but I thought when I drove out there that the asphalt goes into gravel before it gets to the development. And can you address that?
Yeah, so as part of the project, not only are they doing the frontage for Wahomie Lake Road, but they're also doing it from the project site 200 feet beyond to connect to Albright Street. So that whole length of roadway will be paved.
Okay. And if you do me one other favor, can you bring up the site plan that shows the two, right. Was there a reason why they've got the two entryways so close together, that one to the east? Could it have been moved further away? They seem like they're so close together. Seems kind of odd to me.
Two points of access, right, is preferred to one. You'd have all those
No, I
units
like the
coming
two
out of it.
accesses, but why are they so close together?
Yeah, I think they're just limited in what they can do with the site, but you can ask the developer that.
Okay, great. I see no other questions, so thank you. Would the applicant like to address?
Really what it's going to look like? So.
Hey, good evening, Chair Morrissey, Vice Chair Anthony, and members of the commission. Good evening. My name is Jonathan Frank. I serve as Vice President of Forward Planning for Rincon Homes. And thank you so much for your consideration of the Wahomie Lake project this evening. Before I begin, I just want to take a brief moment to thank staff, in particular Manny Besa, for his diligent efforts in processing this project. This has been in the works for nearly 4 years for us. It's been a lot of time and a lot of effort to make sure that we get this project right. Commissioners, this evening I will be walking you through some of the key features, environmental benefits, and design elements of the proposed project. But before I do, I just want to introduce you or potentially reintroduce you to Rincon Home. Rincon is North County's local home builder. And for 15 years, we've spent our time creating housing opportunity for families throughout our region here in North County. We always focus on high quality design, environmental stewardship, and improving quality of life. You may be familiar with some of our past projects here in the City of Oceanside on Whaley Street, as well as Avocado Road, and the Guahomie Lake project builds on that commitment to thoughtful, community-oriented development. Commissioners, the proposed project before you this evening is fully consistent with the city's general plan and zoning and features 83 single-family homes, including 4 units of on-site affordable housing for families making 50% of area median income or very low income households. The project preserves 41% of the site. It's about 7 acres as permanently protected open space. And in addition, we will be restoring and enhancing another 6.5 acres of sensitive habitat in collaboration with the San Diego Habitat Conservancy. In addition to easy access to Guahomie Regional Park, of course, which is across the street, the 76 freeway and nearby commercial amenities, future residents will also have access to an approximately 1 acre on-site community recreation space. As you heard from Mr. Beza, the city's environmental impact report comprehensively analyzed all potential impacts of the project and determined that the proposal does not result in any significant and unavoidable environmental effects. So our design approach here on this project was informed by 3 years of engagement with the community. We held 2 community-wide meetings, and we also held over 10 kitchen table discussions with neighbors, both immediately adjacent to the site and in the vicinity of the project. And so to maximize open space and avoid impacts to the sensitive habitat, the project strategically locates the new homes in that area closest to Guahomie Lake Road and existing infrastructure. We're creating attainable housing opportunities for working professionals and young families, featuring 4 to 5 bedrooms in line, again, with the city's general plan. We're also, as you heard, making substantial improvements to Guahomie Lake Road, fully paving nearly 1,200 feet of roadway, adding safety features and traffic calming measures. And the project will also include native and drought-tolerant landscaping and building materials that reflect the area's natural. We are acutely aware that housing affordability remains the leading challenge for everyone here in North. And that is precisely why the project includes 4 and 5 bedroom homes designed to meet the needs of growing families, as well as 4 homes reserved for very low income households, those again making 50% of the area median. These homes are anticipated to sell. They will be for sale. The purchase price for these homes will be about $207,000. And beyond delivering these deed-restricted affordable housing units, the project will also contribute over $700,000 to support affordable housing throughout the City of Oceanside. This is a rendering. We wanted to give you a street scene view of what the project will look like. This is the northwest corner of the project site. And this shows you the front elevation of the proposed homes. We've worked very diligently to address a number of key environmental issues, a couple of which I'll speak to this evening. Firstly, biological resources. We've worked very closely with the wildlife agencies from the early stages of this project to ensure early coordination on the project design. The site is outside of the designated wildlife corridor planning zone, and the riparian areas will remain undisturbed. To offset the project's impacts, we will be creating 6.64 acres of coastal sage scrub at the Quarry Creek mitigation site, and the project includes strong safeguards, pre-construction surveys, biological monitoring, and required consultations with all relevant resource agencies having. And in fact, it was the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service during our early consultation that suggested the mitigation opportunity at Quarry Creek. Secondly, mobility and traffic. As we mentioned, the project will fully pave Guahomie Lake Road along our frontage and extending all the way to Albright Street. We're adding curb, sidewalk, and drainage improvements to the existing road. I know it's a little bit small, but here on the bottom right of your screen, you see an image of the existing unpaved and unimproved Guahomie Lake Road. And on the top of the screen is a rendering of the post-project condition, including curb, gutter, sidewalk, and entry monument. We've also committed as a condition of approval of the project to continue to work with the neighborhood on traffic calming measures. We've heard from many in the community about concerns about speeding and other safety hazards. The project is conditioned to continue to work with the city and the community to implement traffic calming measures as the project is built out, ensuring that traffic safety remains a priority as growth continues. And finally, fire safety. We know this is a critical issue for everyone here in our community. And firstly, I think it's important to mention that the project site is not located in a fire hazard severity zone, as published by the state fire marshal in his most recent map. And we've, notwithstanding this, we have developed a comprehensive fire protection plan that was included in the city's EIR that meets or exceeds all applicable building code requirements. The plan calls for a number of features above and beyond building code, including ignition-resistant building materials, sprinkler systems in all homes, the creation of defensible space, and fire-resistant landscape. The project has been fully reviewed and approved by the Oceanside Fire Department, and there will be no off-site impacts to Guahomie Lake. In summary, the project will deliver 83 new residences consistent with the city's vision for growth, while preserving over 13 acres of open space both on and off-site. It will provide affordable housing for very low-income families, invest more than $700,000 in citywide housing initiatives, improve local roads, sidewalks, and drainage. This project reflects our longstanding commitment to working hard to balance environmental protection, safety, and creating housing opportunity where families can thrive. We respectfully request that you adopt the staff recommendation this evening and move to approve the project. Again, thank you so much for your consideration. Our entire project team is here this evening, should you have any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions?
Yeah.
Yes. Commissioner Ballmer.
I have a lot of questions, but just off the top of my head, first off, you said that 13.5 acres total preserved, but there's only like 6 acres that is in the project. Where's the rest of the preserved?
Correct. 2 components of the preservation. One is on-site, the other is off-site. There will be 6.64 acres preserved at the Quarry Creek mitigation site.
And where's the rest of it?
The rest of it is on-site. That is the riparian forest that is
you're saying
undisturbed.
Quarry Creek, you said? Where's
Quarry Creek
Carlsbad? Is that what you said?
Correct.
So it's in Carlsbad. You're going to preserve some land in Carlsbad to go along with this one. I didn't need to do that. I was asking a question.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I'd be happy to explain the approach to mitigation.
Sure. Thank you.
There is an existing framework and a set of regulations and law that governs how and when you can impact sensitive habitat. And that now, because the city has a draft and unadopted sub-area plan, meaning there are no controlling local regulations related to the mitigation site, that is done in coordination with the resource agencies. Mm-hmm. So that federal agency that has jurisdiction over the Section 10 incidental take permit, that process is governed by federal law. And so for the past 3 years, we've engaged with them and we ask them, hey, here is the habitat that's on site. Mm-hmm. Here's what's there. Here's what we're impacting. How do we, in your professional opinion, how do we successfully mitigate that? And there's a number of options. Of course, we understand that the draft area plan is a guide and suggests that the mitigation should be in the City of Oceanside. Mm. We worked with the San Diego Habitat Conservancy, with Don Scholes and his group, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, alongside the California Department of Fish and Wildlife, to identify all suitable potential sites in conformance with that plan. Unfortunately, based on the type of habitat, the available resources in the City of Oceanside, as well as the likelihood of success, one of the key criteria that the resource agencies are looking at is where is it most likely that the establishment, the creation of this habitat will be successful. And they have existing mitigation banks, existing sites where that is most likely. And so it was recommended to us by the Fish and Wildlife Service that the Quarry Creek mitigation site would be the most suitable in this case. But I can assure you, we did a comprehensive evaluation of every possible opportunity in Oceanside as well. But ultimately, it is up to the resource agencies to tell us what they would.
Thank you for that answer.
Yeah, that was a good answer. I understand what you were up against. There's just so much, you'd think in Oceanside that we could actually use something like that. But we don't have a bank that's all set up, that's the guy can say, yeah, you can use these 13 acres over here and, you know.
That is correct, Commissioner. That's exactly
Lake
correct.
Or whatever. We have other things that we could probably preserve too, but it's not set up, so that's why.
That's correct, yes. Yes, ma'am.
Director?
Thank you so much for the question, Commissioner Balma. I just want to expand a little bit on that. The city's in the process of potentially developing 2 mitigation banking sites here at the city. One of them includes the El Corazon. So part of the El Corazon EIR is to establish 20 acres of habitat. We have received proposals to work with a specialist to determine a restoration plan for those 20 acres, but that still needs to go to City Council for approval. Once that restoration plan is developed, we will be able to work with developers such as them to possibly find mitigation at El Corazon. But again, as he mentioned, it depends on the type of habitat that needs to be mitigated and whether that can be accommodated in terms of quality and quantity at El Corazon.
Got it.
Any other questions for the applicant? You know, I have one. I went out and looked at the site yesterday, and I was talking to Commissioner Baumann when she was out today. I was kind of shocked how fast everybody drives out there. And on a Sunday, mind you. And I was talking to Louise, and she almost had to hang up because people were on her tail. So when you say calming, what do you mean? I mean, what are you going to do?
Sure. So traffic calming measures include a number of potential, it's kind of a menu of options. And we've worked to identify some potential options with the city's traffic engineer that will be implemented as the project is built out. Firstly, I'll say that I've been out there dozens and dozens of times now, and I've talked to neighbors, especially those that live immediately adjacent. Many times there are some significant safety concerns there, and we recognize them. We actually voluntarily approached the city traffic engineer after those discussions and said, how can we contribute here? And so that menu of options, Chair Morrissey, includes a number of things. One could be things like speed humps or speed cushions. Those are more traditional calming, right, which will physically slow the automobile down as it's driving there. Second could be a striping plan that restricts certain movements, doesn't allow you to go super fast. Sometimes those are called chicanes. It's just a way of slowing people down where you've got to make a slight turning motion. And so there are a variety of other things that can be done, but we're committed to working with the city staff as this project progresses and the community to implement those measures along Guahomie Lake.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Grading, because I was out the site, and it's actually a pretty beautiful site, and it's got a great view when you're at the top, right? So there's a lot of dirt being moved. Is it pretty much going to balance, or what's your grading all about?
Yeah, so of course we're all going to work as hard as we can to balance. As you know, there is some topography on the site.
Yeah.
So geometric quantities, our kind of initial takeoff is there will be some export associated with the site. All of that was fully analyzed and studied in the EIR. But of course, we're going to work to minimize impacts in terms of keeping the existing topography. Generally speaking, the project site does slope downward towards Guahomie Lake Road. So we're going to maintain, generally speaking, the existing topography of the site.
I didn't really check out like what it does to the neighbors next door. Do you have like I know the one to the north is an equestrian site that I looked at. Very nice property. Like how's it going to impact them as far as topography goes? Is it going to be compatible with their existing? So they're not going to have this huge 10-foot wall, or what's going to be happening on their property line?
Yeah, so we have two, I've actually spent a substantial amount of time meeting with the neighbors to the west or northwest, depending. It's a little confusing directionally there.
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time meeting with them, and in fact, we prepared a number of sections to show them exactly what the visual impact will be. Of course, there will be new development there. They will be seeing the development. However, it is not the case that the existing homes will be staring into the window or somebody's rear yard. That given the topography, especially the home that sits above the project site on Albright Street, that home will not be looking into anybody's windows, nor will any of the new homeowners in their rear yard, based on the proposed grading. They generally sit below the existing homes.
Okay.
So they will not be looking into anybody's home from a privacy perspective.
You know, that's a good point. I was looking at your legend. When I was looking at the fencing, I couldn't tell. Your legend didn't differentiate from what I could see, a wrought iron fence versus a plastic vinyl fence. So one of the folks that I talked to, I think her name was Ann, and she was on that west end, right, I guess at Albright. What is right? What kind of fence is right there? Is that a retaining wall?
Along the property line, there is a 6-foot high vinyl fence that is a white vinyl, typical white vinyl fence that's proposed on the property line. There's some situations in which we have combo walls, which is a retaining wall, and then atop that would be some sort of fencing material.
Right.
So that occurs in limited locations, but generally speaking, there's going to be that 6-foot-high traditional, very typical privacy fencing along the entire perimeter of the project site.
Okay. Thank you. I see no other questions, so it is time for public comment. And so, Mary Sue, how many speakers do we have?
Chair Morrissey, we have 33 signed up
33.
electronically, and I have not received any group speaker slips, so
I
far.
recommend that we limit to 2 minutes then.
minutes. Okay,
And if anybody can,
that's,
you know what, I'm sure that a lot of you have the same thing to say, so maybe when you hear your neighbor say something, you could skip to it, but who's our first speaker?
let me proceed here. Okay. Please come forward in the order your name appears on the screen. State your name clearly for the chamber recording as well as the gallery.
And
You will
Marissa, I
have-
want to
excuse
say
me.
one other thing too, is normally when we have more than 20 speakers, we go down to 2 minutes, so I don't want you to think that you're being cheated. But hopefully you can get your point across in that point of time, and we'll give you some grace if you run over a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 lecterns. Please feel free to pre-stage at the second lectern while you await your turn. And so first will be Nadine, followed by Aaron, followed by Adrian, followed by Simon. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
Long time I haven't been here. Good evening, everybody. Took a hiatus after SB 330 got passed because it's almost pointless to fight affordable housing. But this is not one of those projects. There are 2 excellent reasons to deny this project. Number 1, the staff report's incorrect. I apologize to current staff, he didn't write it. As we know, the former staff left under a cloud of suspicion of something. So as far as I'm concerned, this report should have been redone with the new staff. While there are many horse properties in the general vicinity, a comprehensive equestrian trail network never materialized. That's a lie. This is a trail ride. One of my friends here prepared this map. They went out in July, a whole bunch of riders and horses. And if you look closely at the maps, you can see all the trails. They're established. So that's a total lie. One of the reasons that's important is because health and safety, you can deny this project. It is not safe to add 700 cars to this area where horses and people are riding. Number 2, bear with me. You cannot waive overlay districts. Tom, you asked really good questions. Just bear with me, I apologize. There are Oceanside's overlay districts. Which ones do you want to get rid of? A yes vote tonight means you can get rid of every single one of those, and you're going to let the state stab us in the back. Remember these little kids that are sitting here? That's our future. And if you vote for a project like this, and you don't deny it and enforce our overlay districts, you're screwing the whole county. You're screwing everybody in Oceanside and California. You're basically getting rid of all our zoning and making local control a joke. So please look at that list. Tell me which ones you want to get rid of and why. Mr. Rosales, your question about it being compatible with the equestrian overlay is exactly the question to answer. So on these 2 bases, that there's no riding trails, which is a lie, and that we can waive overlay districts, that's problematic. Have guts, have glory, deny this project based on that. Otherwise, we have 0 local control. We need to leave something for our kids. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Erin Moore, and I'm from 1241 Chambord Court, and I'm actually from the coastal zone now, and I have a business out in the east zone. As a girl growing up in a rural area, we weren't too happy about development happening out in our area. We've always wanted to keep our area rural and having equestrians that's what Jeffrey's Ranch was based on, is the horse community, because I've been in Jeffrey's Ranch before and I've seen the horses, and they need that access of trails and stuff, because where are those horses going to go? They're going to have to go out into another area where they have to rent stalls or they have to find emergency places. That's more problematic because we need those access to those trails. And for these horse communities, they, maybe we could work with Parks and Recs, get this into Oceanside, because this is really crucial and it's important that we have rural activities and keep our natural park alone. It's supposed to be a park, not a lot of housing. So just wanted to let you know about that. Thanks.
Thank you.
My name is up there. It's Adrian Jaffa. And listening to Jonathan, who I've met quite a few times and enjoyed, I'm almost in favor of the project. But I am the Western House. We have 2 acres, 3 horses. And this project, you pointed it out, Chairman Morris, those are very narrow, close together exits. If there is an emergency, please God, there never will be, but that's what we have to think of in the future with this particular density. There's no way 80 to 100 cars are getting out of there into a very twisty road with a tremendously dangerous S-bend at the top of it without some serious problems accruing. And I see that as one of the most important problems here. The other thing, and I have to ask you this, is that I became rather disenchanted with Mr. Ron Damaski. We talked to him a number of times, never any feedback. He said he would come with a developer to meet us. He never turned up. The second time he said it, he didn't turn up, and we found out he wasn't employed anymore, and there's a bunch of smell about that, which I don't care to get into, I don't know. But I believe that this committee owes the public, owes the people it represents, another hard look at everything about this, not just, and it's lovely looking at it, not just looking at it, but earthquake, fire, lots of hazards that could happen. And that road with that S-bend, with a bunch of kids driving 15 miles an hour, now that it's tarred, someone's going to get killed, and someone's going to decide to sue the city, because that's where the money is. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, thank you for the opportunity of speaking. For over a decade now, I've been observing the wildlife at Wahome, and a couple of things have impressed upon me. One is how fragile the park is from an ecological standpoint. And the second is the enormous amount of traffic, human traffic, and I realize that it's a park that everyone needs to enjoy, but there's been a lot more traffic in the park over the 10 plus years that I've been observing. And I also wanted to give you an example that I think is emblematic of the larger flora and fauna of the park. I realize you did an EIR study, but EIR studies are subject to limitations of budget and time, and they're sometimes done by rote. And what I'd like to impress upon you is the fact that there are species in the park, especially in the apiculture area or bees, and I'm not talking about honeybees here, which people all think are the great pollinators of the world. It's actually the native bee species that are solitary, stingless, and minute, sometimes a grain of sand. And they have co-evolved with the flowers that they use as sustenance. So they've co-evolved. Without the flower, no bee. Without the bee, no flower. Sometimes in an ecology is a matter of a square meter. So my concern is somewhat multifactorial in that the increase of pollution from light, from sound, from vibration, from vehicular traffic, I think will have a huge impact on these tiny, sometimes unspoken little creatures that I think is emblematic of the larger ecology of the park, which I again impress upon you is very fragile and I think needs some serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Nancy Bernardi. I live in the Jeffries Ranch area. Please do not approve this project. This is, now that I got a view of it, it absolutely does not fit the area. It's ugly. It doesn't even look like homes. It looks like condos. It's very sad looking. And it's nice that they put trees in the pictures, but they won't be there. It's a beautiful, tranquil spot adjacent to Guajomea Park, and it connects natural habitat for wildlife and plants. Leave this precious area alone, an area that encourages bird migration, wildlife movement, open spaces. This project will adversely impact these things. Most importantly, it's been designated as a scenic overlay zone, and it does not comply with the zoning requirements. Why cram more people into a small area that is adjacent to this open space, as well as frustrating daily gridlock? This gridlock is anxiety producing for most of us. We get onto 76 just to sit in a long line of traffic that moves so slowly. This project would more than double the traffic based on estimates that predict an increase from 744 to 1,574 cars. It's a quiet, rural area that has small ranches with horses, and I am extremely concerned about fire evacuations with even more homes in the area. We moved from LA County to Orange County, and we're blessed to be able to move down here. We don't want this to change, and it's changed already. There are so many unattractive projects going up, and there doesn't seem to be any plan to them. They just are stuck somewhere. It doesn't seem to be there's any vision. And these sites that they're proposed, they are so tight that they just look like condos. It's very, very, very sad looking. Please don't side with the developers who build and leave this mess behind. We want Oceanside to be the best place to live and breathe. Thank you for hearing our strong concerns and vote no for this application. Keep open space open per the zoning requirements and don't jam development right up against it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, good afternoon, Planning Commission and staff. My name is Ann Ladden, and I live at 435 Albright Street in Oceanside. I'm speaking this evening to voice my opposition to Guajomea Lake Homes project. Jonathan Frankel of Rincon Homes has worked diligently over the past several months to address the personal impacts of this project on our property, but my issues extend well beyond those. My primary concern is safety. I have a bird's eye view of the vehicular rodeo that is Guajomea Lake Road. In the past several months, I have documented and sent to the city staff photos of 3 serious accidents that occurred in front of our home on Guajomea Lake Road. They include a rollover, a car vaulting into the park, and most recently, a partial head-on collision, which resulted in airbag deployment and cars being towed from the scene. Guajomea Lake Homes project paves only the road directly in front of their project to the intersection at Albright. The project is not required to pave the remaining dirt roads south. It will double daily traffic and the safety issue with it. As I was writing these remarks, I was alerted of a fire at the intersection of 76 and Guajomea Lake Road, just blocks from the project site. In the event of a natural disaster or fire event, approving a project of this density with only a single country road for ingress and egress is dangerous and irresponsible. These days, it is easy to take a fatalistic view of our ability to effect change. Someone commented to me that even if the Planning Commission votes no, the project will simply be brought to the appellate court and approved there. But delay is the enemy of development, and with delay, it is possible that improvements on this ill-conceived plan can be made. I was reminded recently of one of my favorite quotes by Margaret Mead: "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world." Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has. Planning Commission members, you are the small group. You are appointed, not elected. You don't have to fill your re-election coffers. You can vote your conscience. At some future date, this project has been built as presented. It is only a matter of time before an avoidable traffic fatality or catastrophic evacuation event occurs. What will have been your part in it? I hope you will just say nay.
Do you have my exhibit up? Good evening. My name is Doreen Statlander. I'm a resident of Jeffries Ranch. I'm a wildlife biologist by trade, having 30 years of experience working with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The EIR does not adequately assess the impacts to wildlife connectivity. The EIR contends that there will be no significant impact to wildlife movement because the proposed project would not result in the loss of wildlife corridors or habitat linkage. This is based on that the project is outside the wildlife corridor planning zone, the site is surrounded by development, and the site is relatively isolated from large undeveloped areas and other preserves. This is just not true on the ground when in fact the site provides connection to the natural lands within Guajome Regional Park and the 180-acre Caltrans Jeffries Ranch Preserve, which is shown on the exhibit. You can see Jeffries Ranch, which under the sub-area plan was identified as developed. There's a small connection over to an area that was set aside by the Marlborough Country Estates project that then connects through private properties, often the ranchettes, which is not high-density development, will connect over to the project site, which has gnatcatchers, over to Guajome Park, which is part of the county's regional planning effort that they are actively pursuing at this time. In regards to the sub-area plan, I know it's used as a framework, but it's totally outdated. The information, it's a 2010 document. It's outdated information that was used as preceding that. So there is a wildlife connection, and none of this is addressed in the EIR. The other issue I have is that under the cumulative impacts, it says, quote, direct impacts to special status plant species and special status wildlife could occur due to project implementation, but would be mitigated per the Oceanside sub-area plan. Direct impacts would therefore not contribute to any cumulative sensitive species impacts. My contention is the use of this draft sub-area plan in analyzing impacts is not defensible. It's a draft plan. It's old. It's outdated. If it went through a permitting process, there would be a rigorous analysis of the effects to species, jeopardy, no jeopardy determinations. There would be permit issuance criteria. There would also be assurances of funding and management and monitoring. And none of this has occurred. And when it's convenient, developers, they use the sub-area plan. When it's not convenient, it's only draft and guidance. So therefore, I do believe your EIR is inadequate. The project should either be denied or substantially redesigned to allow for a linkage through the site to maintain the connection between the county park, the project site, and the Jeffries Ranch Preserve.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diane Riley, and I've lived on Albright Street for 53 years, own 2 properties here, and have watched this community grow with pride. I am not anti-development, but I am absolutely against the Guajome Lake Homes project in its current form because it is unsafe. It violates the intent of our zoning, and it was advanced through negligence and concessions that should never have been made. Let's be clear, this is a rural community. Guajome Lake Road is a narrow, has multiple blind corners, and offers only one way in and out. In a high fire risk area, that is a death trap. If this density is approved without road upgrades, the city will be directly responsible for the loss of life and emergency evacuation. Every real estate listing already calls this a high fire hazard zone, despite the EIR downplaying it. The project also calls for a private high-pressure sewer line running 1,000 feet along the park, just 100 feet from a natural creek. When, not if, that line fails, environmental damage will be irreversible and the liability lands squarely on the city and developer. Protections that have been in place for decades, our scenic overlay, equestrian overlay, and RSSP EQ zoning, are being shredded to benefit the developer's bottom line and city revenues through taxes. Lot sizes have been reduced, density increased, and our rural character is being sold off piece by piece. These concessions were granted by a former city planner no longer employed who was grossly negligent in his duties, bypassing proper input from residents and ignoring safety. You have a moral and legal obligation to fix this. Pushing this forward as is will not solve these problems. It will push the project into appeals, potentially appellate court, dragging the city into litigation and wasting taxpayer dollars. And when the lawsuits come, every official who signed off of it will own the consequences. This is not community-driven development. This is profit-driven exploitation at the expense of safety, zoning integrity, and environmental stewardship. It is reckless, it is dangerous, and it should be rejected outright. Thank you for hearing me, and I appreciate the mayor and one council member acknowledging my certified letter emailed previously sent.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Linda Puebla Flores. I am a public health professor at Cal State San Marcos. I live on Marjorie Street near Guajome Park. I am here to oppose the proposed housing development next to the park. Guajome Park is one of the last remaining coastal wetland habitats in North County. According to the County of San Diego Parks Department, it supports over 190 bird species, including great blue herons, red-shouldered hawks, and the California gnatcatcher, a federally threatened species. Building housing directly next to this park will, 1, destroy and fragment habitat. Many species in Guajome rely on undisturbed buffer zones. Removing those buffers forces animals into smaller, isolated areas, which reduce breeding successes and survival rates. 2, it will increase polluted runoff. Paved surfaces and landscaping produce fertilizers, pesticides, and oils that will flow into the park's ponds and marshes. Wetlands like Guajome act as natural filters, but only if pollutants are kept at low levels. And 3rd, it will cause light and noise pollutions. Studies show that artificial lighting disturbs bird migration and nesting, while construction and ongoing human activity increases stress in wildlife populations. This project does not just harm animals. It undermines the park's ability to provide ecosystem services that benefit the city, filtering water, reducing flood risk, and storing carbon. Once we lose this habitat, it cannot be replaced. I urge the council to reject this project and preserve Guajome Park's critical role in our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tom Kunis. I'm a resident of Oceanside in the Park Lake community. I'm asking you to please oppose this project. The traffic is expected to more than double on a narrow part dirt road with multiple blind turns. This is a huge safety concern for our community. Trying to get on and off Highway 76 is already a constant traffic jam during rush hour, and it will only get worse. This poses significant health and safety risks in case of evacuations like a wildfire, which is imminent, including risks to pedestrians and horses trying to cross Guajome Lake Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, before you start my time, can you explain how I use a device to project, or I've never done that before.
Mary Sue to the rescue.
Oh. Oh.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is Jennifer Jacobs, and I'm an Oceanside resident. This project has too many problems to possibly get into in just 2 minutes, so I will stick to my area of expertise, wildlife. I'm a wildlife biologist, and I specialize in birds. I've been going to Guajome Park 2 to 3 times a week for the last 9 years, so I have intimate knowledge of the park and its wildlife. I'm extremely concerned about the project's impacts on our native wildlife. The project site contains a large area of riparian forest and coastal sage scrub, which is habitat for the coastal California gnatcatcher. California gnatcatcher is a federally threatened bird protected by the Endangered Species Act. During the surveys conducted for the EIR, a pair of California gnatcatchers were observed nesting and feeding young in habitat on site that would be destroyed. This is unacceptable. This area could easily be avoided were it not for greed. I urge you to consider an alternative that incorporates total avoidance of this bird's habitat. I should point out for the record that the EIR falsely claims that United States Fish and Wildlife Service prefers the reduced footprint alternative that includes some impact to the coastal sage scrub. This is not true. Per my discussion with them last week, they strongly prefer an alternative with total avoidance.
Oh, you're not done. Upside down. No. Turn the whole, yeah.
Cut into my time, sorry. It is absolutely false what the developer just stated a moment ago. The wildlife agencies do not support mitigation at Quarry Creek. As you can see in this email, both California Department of Fish and Wildlife and the United States Fish and Wildlife Service state their preference in the circled area for on-site mitigation rather than off-site mitigation at Quarry Creek. There are other issues with the EIR and its failure to provide adequate and accurate technical details. For one, wildlife movement and connectivity was not studied despite the recommendation from California Department of Fish and Wildlife and others. This area serves as a connection between important habitat zones and is part of the largest wildlife corridor in Oceanside as it connects to the San Luis Rey River. The project should include a wildlife movement pathway from the riparian forest in the northern area of the project site to the southern area of the project site, which was also recommended by California Department of Fish and Wildlife. The EIR claims to be preserving about 1 acre of coastal sage scrub on the site, but the EIR figures show otherwise. The impact area needs to be remeasured and reported accurately. Please do not certify the EIR. Please do not approve the project as is. Let us improve this project for the sake of all residents, including our wildlife. Thank you.
Hi, my name is John Osborne. My wife and I purchased a house right across from the park about 10 years ago. And I used to take my grandson there. We would hike, feed the ducks, play a little bit of soccer on the field there. And I was able to introduce him to wildlife generally, birds specifically, which is what I was interested in. But also, I would take him to see the rock mortars that the Liseño Indians would have used to grind their acorns and stuff. And so it became a very important part of my life. I would go there every day. About 5 or 6 years ago, my wife had a stroke and went into care, and all of a sudden I found myself alone. And I needed my grandchildren anyhow, thought I needed to have some friends. So I joined the Audubon Society and became an avid birder. And I still go to the park, even though I don't live across from it anymore, 3 or 4 times a week. And what I'd like to talk about today is I walk there and I see people. I see parents with their children, feeding the ducks, smiling, swinging on the swings. I see people of all ages walking their dogs, enjoying the peace and quiet. I see hikers hiking. I see the runners running and the cyclists cycling, the yoga exercise group under the trees in the shade. All of this is a sort of key to managing to survive the world in some kind of peace and an equilibrium. I also notice the animals who live there, not just the birds, but just a couple of days ago I was walking, and they are right in the middle of the meadow where they're proposing to build these houses, was a coyote. I'm sure it's the same coyote as I've seen 100 times. And he stopped as he walked across the meadow, And he looked at me, and I looked at him. And we exchanged silent pleasantries. He looked so proud, so happy, so content, unafraid in his home. This is where he was born. This is where he spent his life. This is where his parents were born, where his parents spent their lives. This is his heritage. I also look at the rock mortars that the Indians used to grind their acorn. And I stand on that rock and I look across, and there's the meadow they're going to build this development on. And I imagine,
sir, could you wrap it up,
Indian
please?
women grinding their acorns, the kids playing, a scene of quiet, easy, hard work, but easy, reliable kind of solitude or peace, whatever. And what I'm afraid of is not, I don't have any objection to building houses, especially building houses for people who don't have much money, but I have a real objection to not asking very seriously what it is I was going to be tearing down before I built anything up. And so the Coyote won't have his field anymore.
Sir, can you wrap it up, please? You now have gone over 3 minutes. So
Time to
could you
leave?
wrap it up?
Okay, well, I'll stop. Anyway, I'm just concerned that we're taking something that's very precious and not replaceable away from a community that's much bigger than the park, but this whole North County. And so I would vote against doing it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners, staff. Thanks for your time tonight. My name is Michael Tenover, an Oceanside resident. I just want to cover a couple of issues that relate to fire safety that I don't think were carefully done in the EIR. One is in a wildfire urban interface like we're talking about tonight, any attachments within 5 feet of building must be constructed of non-combustible materials. I looked through this EIR, I didn't see anything like that at all. It's a real critical thing, though, for home hardening. Second thing is that I have worked in detail on fire behavior modeling in the past, and this is a very inadequate modeling system they use. They use a very old program. They did a very superficial analysis in the EIR of the Ember issue. I submitted a detailed report to the commission August 6th. As we know, 80% of the structures destroyed in fires are due to Ember firestorms. You owe it to the community here to do a careful analysis of this, given the terrain that we have there. Second thing is that in the EIR fire models they do in the report, they don't seem to cover the Santa Ana case, even though they talk about it endlessly in there, what a serious threat it is. All 4 simulations in the EIR are done at 16-mile-per-hour sustained winds. It's not a Santa Ana, not even close to a Santa Ana. So when I look at the total picture here, we have a project that has failed to provide a Zone 2 fuel modification zone for all the homes, and a wildfire urban interface that's unheard of. They do mitigation steps, and they justify the mitigation steps by doing these simulations, which I think are inaccurate. Now, all the references in this report are like 1990s. Unbelievable. The gold standard for understanding the wildland urban interface is the work done at the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Not even referenced in this report. I think it's unbelievable. Thank you.
Hi.
Good evening.
Can you bring the microphone down? Thank you for helping. What's your name?
Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is... Good evening, Planning Commission. My name is Audrey Shabel. I live in Oceanside, and I come to Gohomie Park with my mom and my sister to go bird watching a lot. And I love Gohomie Park. So I don't want a high-density housing project that's just across the road. Think of all the animals that would be impacted. The California gnatcatcher that was found nesting on site. My mom found a Cooper's hawk nest on the site. Police Bellsburia will be impacted. The white-tailed kite and the yellow-breasted
shout will be impacted, and all the noise will disturb not only the birds, but the animals and the people that live nearby. Those are just a few reasons why I don't want the high-density housing project just off of Guahomie Lake.
Very good job. Thank you.
Hi, my name is William Dopp. My wife and I and our family live maybe 100 yards from Guahomie Park. I heard somebody say that it's not an evacuation area. In the Lilac fire, we definitely got evacuated. Anyway, and in an emergency, I'm concerned about traffic. I'm also concerned about traffic simply at rush hour times. Now, there's perhaps the problem of getting out to Highway 76, but I haven't heard it mentioned. But Guahomie Lake Road goes on out to the east, and that will very quickly become the shortcut to Osborne, to North Santa Fe and Vista, and to Melrose. To avoid the traffic, North Santa Fe coming in to 76. I think that's a concern, huge concern. That's going to be a shortcut. And it's nothing but a gravel road. Anyway, ridden horses all my life. Horses don't mix with traffic. Guahomie is a very precious wildlife habitat. Red-shouldered hawk said that. There's a nesting pair there. They won't be there with added congestion. Also, it's so historic with Guahomie, Rancho Guahomie, the book Ramona, and everything that has happened in that area, and we need to preserve it as a wilderness area.
Hello, I am Dorothy Bergeron. I have lived in Oceanside for 16 years. This high-density housing project, built with inadequate evacuation routes, endangers public safety. There is only one evacuation route available. If built as planned, only a narrow 2-lane road would be provided to evacuate 83 homes. Traffic congestion on Guahomie Lake Road is expected to double, impeding evacuation not only from Guahomie, but other communities on State Road 76 as well. Dense, overgrown, and highly flammable vegetated areas near this project provide an abundance of fuel for a wildfire. Extreme weather conditions are not uncommon in this area and could create a firestorm. Many residents could die trying to escape. Is Oceanside ready for the legal ramifications? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Renata Engel, and I'm an Oceanside resident. I use Guahomie Park almost every day. I hike, I bike, I camp there. I'm also an equestrian, and I board at a facility that is adjacent to Guahomie Park. I'm also a mobile home resident in Oceanside, and I've heard people talk about the impacts to wildlife, the fact that the area that's given up for habitat preservation is completely cut off from Guahomie Park, so it's useless. Those tiny fragments of habitat scattered here and there don't sustain any kind of a population. But I'm going to talk about something different. I'm going to talk about that equestrian overlay. I'm going to talk about the scenic park overlay. That's local government control, and you folks represent us folks. And if you give up that local control at the thought of every high-density bonus Every time that there's concerns of the state, you are giving up our power. And if you come for those overlays, what happens to the senior mobile home park overlay? What happens when developers look at those senior mobile home parks and how attractive they would be, because they are much, much closer to transit routes. They are much, much closer to bus routes. They are much, much closer. You're not going to be able to, if you give up these overlays, you are giving up a lot. And I would like you folks in the Planning Commission to really consider that. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity to gather in discussion of such an important public resource, Guajomí Park. My name is Katie Ramos, and I've been an Oceanside resident for over 20 years. I live in Lakeview Estates, a community that sits directly above the park off Highway 76. Over the years, I've become well acquainted with the park and all it has to offer, and know it to be, without a doubt, one of Oceanside's most prized gems. As a young mom, I walked the park for exercise and mental clarity while pregnant. The trails were a source of peace and inspiration to me. As my children have grown, the park has become a place where we've enjoyed countless playdates, birthday parties, and other memories, like my boys learning to ride their bikes on its trails and learning to cast a fishing line into the lake. It's been a place of mental peace during the stressful days of COVID. Guajomí has been there for my family and me. But now Guajomí needs me and other guardians to stand up and remind you that we have the park we have today because we've been cautious about growth near and around the park. If we want to protect it for future generations, we must not forget this truth. We need wide open spaces for our mental sanity, for our communal good. Stop the development. It's out of hand. It angers me. It makes me sick. Way too much development lately. There are others more qualified to educate you on the devastating impacts a new housing tract would have upon the park and its ecosystem. However, general residents such as myself can confirm the negative impact the project would cause. Of specific concern to me would be the increased traffic in the area, which is already at an all-time high. Hop on the 76 and you'll wish you didn't. It would also disrupt the delicate rural atmosphere, as others have mentioned, in the specific part of Oceanside that we reside. We must work to keep lands currently open near the park in order to preserve a buffer for the park and the rural atmosphere we so much enjoy. In closing, I remind you that as stewards of our lovely city, we cannot feign care for public resources like Guajomí Park while simultaneously allowing homes to be crammed nearby. And as the old adage goes, just because you can doesn't mean you should. We're all built up. Any additional building simply strains wildlife and residents. More homes, more traffic, more noise, more stress on the environment, disruption to the local balance. Guajomí can continue to be the amazing place we all enjoy today, but we have to protect it, and we have to be proactive. And by the way, we like our dirt road.
Real quick, I want to see if Daria Griffith is, or if I'm going to go ahead and skip to Mary Gilman.
Good evening. Thank you for letting me speak here. I'm strongly opposed to this development project. It's a high-density project that is totally incompatible with the surrounding area, which, of course, as many people have mentioned, it abuts the San Diego Regional Park. It is adjacent to large lot residences and agricultural use, land use properties. There are a number of farms right next to it. In addition to this is an unpaved road. They're going to pave basically just in front of the project. It's going to be a mess, and the traffic and the congestion are going to be ridiculous. As it is, Osborne there's a lot of traffic and people speeding through there because they think, oh, it's a country road. And so it's a dangerous situation that is only going to get worse. and as Owen mentioned, connecting to North Santa Fe, and then on the north side to the Mission Avenue or the 76. The EIR states that this is part of land infill structure, which is intended for urban areas where there's already similar development, and this is totally out of character with, again, the area that we're talking about. The other thing is that this making the density bonus allowance in such a rural area is really incompatible. And the nearest bus stop, which you would imply that low-income people might need to find, is over a mile away. So are people going to walk to that, So anyways, there's so many things wrong with this, and I hope that you reject it. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mona Dopp. My husband and I have lived in the Park Lake neighborhood for the past 27 years, and most mornings you can find me running on the trails of Gohomey Park. I've seen some of the folks in the park that have spoken tonight, and it's been such a joy to be able to leave the busyness of daily life and commute, enter the park, and have a daily encounter with wildlife and all sorts of wildlife, wildflowers, coyotes, birds, hawks. All seasons of the year are beautiful at Gohomey Park. Once I step out of the park on the Upper Pond area on North Santa Fe, I'm confronted by that traffic, noise, pollution, and hurry sickness that pervades life. I wanted to let you know I looked up a little of the statistics on the Sandag website. They only went through 2022, but the 5 years from 2018 to 2022, there were 30 collisions and 30 collisions with property damage on North Santa Fe bordering Gohomey Park, 47 collisions in the intersection of 76 and North Santa Fe, and 27 rear-end collisions, Gohomey Lake Road and 76. I'm very concerned about the traffic that will take a route through Gohomey Lake Road if that area is developed. It's not just the fact that it's a gravel road, but if it becomes paved and developed, there's going to be a huge increase of traffic. I think that's going to have a huge impact on the park, on the noise, on safety. People have discussed that eloquently here tonight. And I hope you will vote no on this project.
Hello, Commissioners. My name is Jessamine Keenan. I'm homeowner and resident in Oceanside for over 25 years. And I board horses right on Gohomey Lake Road and ride out there several times a week. And here representing my equestrian friends and family who do the same thing. They live and board horses in the area and enjoy riding to the park on a regular basis. This parcel, well, the proposal to move the protections from this parcel has come to the attention of the San Diego equestrian community. This parcel is a very special protected location close to Gohomey Regional Park and an equestrian community in Oceanside. The Scenic Overlay and Equestrian Zoning Ordinances currently apply to development of this parcel. We strongly oppose removing the protections that were put in place to protect a century of equestrian presence and decades of planning documents that recognize the equestrian community's needs and protect to preserve the wetlands, birds, and animals that call Gohomey Park home. With the increased traffic on Gohomey Lake Road, we would need along the entire length of Gohomey Lake Road some kind of bridle path or safe passage for horse and rider. Right now, I think some of the research done suggested that there are no trail access to Guahomie Lake or that there's no network of trails there, but the road itself is our trail access from all the way at Osborne or even Santa Fe, all the way to the 76. And we would go out of the park to the 76 to get into Jeffries Ranch as well. So it is an active trail, technically, to get us all in and out of the park. And right now, we ride at our own risk. It's relatively, quiet because of that dirt road, but doubling the traffic in that area, that three-way intersection at Ramona and Guahomie Lake Road, where there's no stop sign, would all greatly increase and greatly affect safety for horse and rider accessing the park on a regular basis. Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Patty Langen, President of Buena Vista Audubon Society. First and foremost, we know this project will result in non-compliance with the city's scenic park overlay and equestrian zoning standards. All of the alternatives in the EIR, with the exception of the no project alternative, will dramatically impact the surrounding communities in ways you are hearing tonight. I will focus on impacts to wildlife. This proposed development is inappropriate for a property with significant biological resources and wildlife linkages to a large regional park. The proposed project would destroy the site's coastal sage scrub habitat, which is home to a pair of breeding coastal California gnatcatchers, a federally threatened species whose primary cause of decline is due to habitat loss, which is what this project will do. I know that they're planning on mitigation, but the birds at the park, at that property, will no longer be able to breed there. The city should insist that coastal sage scrub habitat be protected and commit to a 100-foot buffer from the riparian area. The DEIR states that the movement of wildlife is limited due to the existing houses. However, no wildlife movement study was conducted, and providing the habitat connection between the riparian habitat and Guahomie Regional Park is vital for wildlife. Should the project be approved, Buena Vista Audubon has requested the inclusion of bird-friendly building design standards. The EIR response to our comments stated that single-family homes do not encourage bird strikes. This is a false claim. According to the 2020 U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service report, 44% of bird strikes occur at urban and rural residences. Many of us in this room have witnessed bird collisions in our own home. So just because the city has not yet adopted bird-friendly building standards does not mean that bird collisions will not happen and that the project won't result in significant impact. In addition to being on the Pacific Flyway, it's adjacent to an important wildlife area used as wintering habitat for many birds. So bird-friendly building design has already been included in the Olive Park apartments and now will be included in the Oceanside Transit Center design planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Cochran, and I live off of Guahomie Lake Road. I discovered Guahomie County Park when I moved here 6 years ago, and I visit at least twice a week to walk the trails. It didn't take me long to fall in love with the place. The natural open space, the mix of the sage, coastal sage and coast live oaks, and of course the lake, and all the birds and other wildlife that call Guahomie home. Guahomie home. I take countless photographs. My computer is just full to the brim. I have to do something. And comes out in my artwork, and I even write about it. So I understand the love that everybody has talked about today and all the many reasons why this proposed housing is a bad idea, all detailed very eloquently by the speakers, and the research is there. There's endangered birds and threatened birds. And it's important to have spaces like this. A rural space is precious, very precious. And the feeling that you have when you walk in the park and you talk to other people. I met a man there from Seattle the other day visiting his mother, who showed me a little handwritten list, hand-printed, that he'd carefully written out. There were 22 birds on it that he'd heard and seen in just the hour that he was there that morning. Some of them I had seen, but he was really diligent, and I was very impressed. I even wrote a song about Guahomie. I'm not going to sing it to you today, but I will leave you with a couple of lines that are in the chorus. I'm walking where crows, live oak, and prickly pear live in the world beyond the concrete. Just around the bend, California gnatcatcher and Bewick's wren live in the world beyond the concrete. And we need spaces like that. Protect Guahomie, please. Thank you.
Hello, my name's Nancy Sublette, and I live in Jeffries Ranch. And I was always trying to figure out, because I go to the park all the time, what's the relationship? And there aren't really roads that you can drive through, but I went to meet the farmer at the top of Guahomie Lake Road, who owns the Green Paradise, because it practically abuts the Mission Meadows School. At the back of Jeffries Ranch, I could throw a stone to the lake, Guahomie Lake Road. You know, it's just amazing how close it is. A couple years ago, I saw the sign that it was under consideration for development, and I thought, well, that's just unbelievable. And I'm so happy to hear that you've actually driven out there, a couple of you, and seen it, because a housing project just does not belong in that site. It's just, there's no continuity to it at all, alongside all the multiple reasons, facts, and figures that have been delivered here tonight. But I felt compelled to come voice my opposition, and thank you for your time.
Good evening. My name's Steve Mailing. I've been a resident in the Guahomie Lake area. The street I live on is Old Ranch Road. This is the community just north of the project on Guahomie Lake Road. What I actually completely disagree, first of all, with Mr. Frankel's assessment about the SRA. I've seen the SRA, and quite honestly, I don't really believe that it actually completely encompasses the fire hazard, number one. Number two, I think it's actually immaterial, because the City of Oceanside, the City Council, actually unanimously voted to approve the fire safety hazard zone for Oceanside. Whether or not they adopted just the CAL FIRE, I don't think that really matters. I think what it signifies is the fact that the City of Oceanside recognizes that we live in a fire zone, and all you have to do is look up at the Pacific Palisades. Not to say that that's going to happen here, but I did live through the Lilac Fire, and it is a serious problem. And what really is more difficult is the fact that there is only one way out. And how fitting was it that we had a brush fire in the park yesterday? The entire 76 was blockaded as it was during the Lilac Fire, leaving the south exit in a very winding road with an S curve, and now you're going to add 150 new vehicles to that area. It's just it's going to create an absolute disaster, and I respectfully request that you deny this project. And Commissioner Balma, I would have to say that you were absolutely correct. Guahomie Lake is a beautiful area, and we have to keep it. And these people here tonight are taking the time out of their lives, they're away from their children, to come here because they're fighting for something that actually matters. We live in a very urban area, and we have very, very few places that we can go to. And keep in mind, there's only 3 county parks within 50 miles, and we have the best one right here. Don't ruin it. Thank you.
Honorable Chair and Commissioners, I'm Ellen Bartlett representing Preserve Calavera, and we're very concerned about the impact this project will cause to Guahomie Regional Park. and this is the only equestrian park in coastal North County. Further, the EIR concluded this project would not adversely impact the park, but common sense says the park will experience huge impacts from 83 homes on its border. The project will widen Guahomie Lake Road by removing 15 to 20 feet of vegetation along hundreds of feet. This will more than double traffic and result in a smaller park. Furthermore, the final EIR clearly shows that on the southern border of the project, the fire management zone extends across Guahomie Lake and into Guahomie Park. The final EIR states this is acceptable because the vegetation in this area is thin and would therefore meet the FMZ requirements, but this is a faulty assumption. Guahomie Regional Park will be included in the Regional Conservation Plan for North County that is still being finalized and includes acres of sensitive habitat that will be permanently protected when the plan is adopted. Finally, the county park staff raised concern about the impacts on their park in their comment letter on the draft EIR. The staff report says that the county concluded the project would not impact the park and indicated a trail connection would not be required. This email we received last Friday says otherwise. It says the county reached out to staff and have not heard back and have insufficient information to determine if there are impacts. Also, they would like to see consideration for safe crossings for all trail users. I am submitting the August 8th, 2025 email to be added to the administrative record. We urge you to just say no.
Hi, my name is Kim Miller-Rootkin. I live in Escondido, although I did try to buy a horse property in Oceanside right next to Guahomie, but I got outbid twice, so I live in Escondido. I boarded my horse in Oceanside for several years. We've probably ridden hundreds of miles in Guahomie Park and in all the area around Guahomie Park. My family, friends, and I ride our horses at Guahomie Park. Not only do we pay the park fees when we come to the park, but we also frequent many establishments in the area. We bring money into Oceanside. We share our love for this area with equestrians throughout San Diego County and other counties as well. For every equestrian you see here tonight, there are probably hundreds more that ride Guahomie Park and the areas surrounding the park. I'd like to share a comment from Mayor Esther Sanchez that she made during a recent Oceanside City Council meeting in response to another project in Oceanside. She said, and I quote, "We don't sacrifice one community for another." With that said, by removing the equestrian overlay in the proposed area, you are going one step further. You're sacrificing the protections of the equestrian community in their own community in order to introduce a new development. Those that live here oppose it, and those of us who travel here to ride, we oppose it as well. It also impacts wildlife in the corridors, like we mentioned earlier, that the housing development is right in the middle. There's a 6-foot plastic wall that they referred to that goes around the entire community. There's no way for those animals to get from Guahomie Park to the area that they've set aside for them, as well as Jeffries Ranch and all the other areas. The people in this community did not move here because they wanted to live in a heavily populated area. There are hundreds of horses that live within a few miles of this location. There are more that travel here to ride and enjoy Guahomie Park. You are forcing the equestrians within the community to make sacrifices within their own community. You're ignoring the people that live in this community. Would you like your neighborhood to be rezoned? And all of a sudden, the neighborhood you searched for to live and enjoy was all of a sudden rezoned and heavily populated. I'm sure you would. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. My name is Barbara Collins. I'm an Oceanside resident, and I'm here on behalf of the Sierra Club. In the interest of not repeating some of the same things that we've been asked not to do by the chair, we definitely agree with Preserve Calavera. and the Buena Vista Audubon Society. We have a lot of concerns about this project. It brings to mind that giant ADU project in Pacific Beach, which is misusing the ADU laws in San Diego. Our concerns about this project, it exceeds the 5-minute fire safety response, the excessive dust and all the traffic on the unpaved section that's going to be left of Guahomie Lake Road, no provisions for safe equestrian crossing, destruction of the sensitive habitat, and also the fact that they could be incorporating more no and low cost measures that would make this environmentally better. You've been asked for a lot of waivers. You don't have to give those waivers. You don't have to give them the waiver of the equestrian overlay. But you can also add some things to make this project better. You could say that the project has to do more to meet the 5-minute city fire safety standard. You could say that they have to have a safe equestrian crossing. You could say that they have to work with the planning department, and if we do have a bank area in El Corazon, they should be using that for the coastal sage scrub that they're going to be eliminating. So don't give them all their waivers, and let's see some things put on this project to make it better. Thank you.
Thank you for allowing us to speak here tonight. My name is Chiwa Slater. I live in the San Luis Rey area and close to the fire station there on the corner of Mission and Fusat. So I've always felt very safe because we are within that 5-minute response time. I did some research on the area of Guahomie Park and how long it would take to respond. And what I learned was that from the fire station near my house, like there is a fire station on North Santa Fe, but if that fire station, if the trucks there were not available and there were a fire, the next location would probably be the one on the corner of Fusat and Mission, fire station number 7. And it would take 10 minutes to respond. And if it were a different fire company in Oceanside, it would probably take 13 minutes to respond. That is not okay. Our standard here in Oceanside, as Barbara pointed out, is a 5-minute response time. And so I call upon you to think about that and be very, very careful in your decision about this because of the danger, not only to the residents and houses that would have to perhaps not be responded to in time, well, very likely not be responded to in time, but also to the wildlife in the area that would be affected. It's not just people that we have to think about. Thank you very much.
Hey, Honorable Chair and Commissioners, Diane Nygaard representing Preserve Calavera. This is one of the worst projects we have seen in North County in the last 25 years. It will destroy the quiet, rural character of this equestrian neighborhood, impact a regional park, and cause numerous impacts to the environment. Please read the letter from our legal counsel. It was the 12th letter in the packet you just received today. It documents numerous errors in the EIR and explains how this project falsely concluded they're allowed this excessive number of units. These are technical issues and are likely ones that you're not familiar with. But if your common sense says you're not sure or you think this project has impacts, then you just have to say no. 3 specific issues we want to point out. First, the project is destroying habitat in Oceanside, but proposes to restore it in Carlsbad. What a great deal for the city of Carlsbad. Read the actual comment letters from the agencies. Jennifer showed a little snippet of one. They said they support the mitigation in Oceanside, and it's through our local and regional conservation plans. We ask you to condition this project to mitigate all of its habitat impacts within the City of Oceanside, and Darlene told you earlier that that's possible. 2, the project is not paving all of Coahomie Lake Road. It's doubling the traffic along that road and doubling the amount of dust in the unpaved sections. Please ask the developer to pave the entire road, and if they refuse, ask the city to do that. And 3, the project has eliminated all the requirements of the equestrian overlay district, making it unsafe for equestrians to move between the park and other horse properties. Please condition the project to include a safe crossing of Coahomie Lake Road for equestrians. This could be similar to what we have at Buccaneer Park. For equestrians, the button is just placed higher so a mounted rider can push it. Add these 3 conditions and just say no. The developer still can come back, has the opportunity to come back with a project that actually fits with this community. Thank you.
Do we have a Kathy Ramos or a Rachel Briss?
Hi, I'm Rachel Britz. I live off of 2827 Coahomie Lake Road, right on the S-curve of the dirt road. So I know firsthand exactly what we're dealing with here. I have voiced my concerns in letters over the past couple years. I've been to the meetings with the developers early on. I know there's a whole bunch of things, and I'm sure you guys are here. You've heard all this before, and honestly, money talks. The developer has money, we don't. And so you guys are kind of in a pinch. And I know from the North River Farms development that we voted down in this city that they just threatened to sue, or they sued, and so you guys felt like your hands were tied too. And so I know this is a complex issue, but I think you need to deal with the liability issue, because it is not a matter of if there will be a fatality on that road, it is a matter of when. Every day when I pull out of my driveway, I am taking my life into my own hands. People whip around those curves. It's blind on one side, almost blind on the other. And at least monthly, I am almost hit head on, except for that I'm a very cautious driver. My son is gonna start driving next year, and I am terrified for him as a new driver, because you just can't see what's coming. That the developer is only gonna pave the road in front of the property, that makes it even worse. That doesn't help it at all, because more people are gonna use that as a cut through now. And there's something about the dirt road that just makes people wanna go off-roading constantly. You guys, the City of Oceanside grades it once a month, and within 24 hours, people skid it and make these bumps so that they can jump off of it. And especially the part coming from the Vista or the county lands, they like speed around it and like jump. There's been so many that have flipped over on that corner, because they're like, oh, they're little boys that wanna, I don't know, use their toys. If you pave most of it, guess what part is gonna be left for off-roading? It's gonna be the most dangerous S-curve. It's gonna be really, really dangerous. It's not a matter of time of if, it's when. Oh, and I have a potential solution if you insist on going forward with this. If you don't deny, or if they threaten to sue, the developer said that they can't, because the land to the west of the road is county park, and they don't, it's too much of a, like, all the different entities. But all of us residents along that road own the parcel, the Coahomie Lake Road cut through our property. So we all own it. So make the developer buy that property from us and develop the road appropriately with the equestrian trail and two full lengths, or 2 full car widths, and even out the curves. But please keep it safe. It's just a matter of time till there's gonna be massive tragedy there. Thank you.
Chair Morrissey, that concludes our electronic speakers. If we have anybody in the audience that did not fill out a slip online or would like to come forward, please come forward, state your name for the record, and you will have 2 minutes to speak.
Good evening. Thank you for listening to all of us. And we've all been here before. I wanted to make...
Could you state your name,
Oh,
please?
my name is Leslie Brooks, and I live on Belmont Park in Jeffries Ranch. So I've listened to everybody and what they said, but nothing has been brought up as to Guahomie Park is also a camping area, and people book months and months and months ahead of time to camp here. So here we are, we waited all this time to come to the park, and we have our family and we have our camping area, and then alls we hear is traffic. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Good evening. I put my name a little bit late on the list. I apologize. My name is Margaret Ogella, and I live directly adjacent to the proposed development at 2837 Guahomie Lake Road. I've been there and paid taxes for the past 38 years. And when we moved there, we were looking for an area with a half-acre minimum, and that's what we found. So I'm not opposed to developments. I just think that they need to be graduated from a less dense area to a higher dense area. I'd be okay with 4 per acre perhaps, but almost 6 per acre is really intolerable, especially since they're crammed in on only the front-facing part of the parcel, because you don't know because you didn't go on the other side. You go up to where that red line was, there is a steep drop-off on the other side. Who's going to be going there for whatever? So you do your calculations for density based on half of the property not being developed, being able to be developed. So I wanted to mention that. I also wanted to mention that the developer mentioned that they talked to the neighbors. Like I said, I'm right next door, and I think I talked to them once. I wasn't asked what I wanted, what I didn't want. I did go to some of the hearings and meetings, but I just wanted to clarify that point for you. And I just wanted to also let you guys know that, yes, the road is an easement on my property, and it is not where it's supposed to be. So what you see there on the maps is not what the city originally planned for and never fixed. Just wanted to say that. And yes, the coyotes, there were 3 pups that were born there, and my dog decided he wanted to go play with them. So I know that they live there, and they've been there for a long time. I am opposed to this project, and I wish you would please reconsider to preserve what these good neighbors of mine would like to see there. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Tim Riley. I'm Jason up the hill with my wife Diane, 5497 Albright Street. And we're going to be at the top looking down. Just a little history, the Quonset hut at the bottom is not a dwelling. It was a Quonset hut that was for the farm equipment. They used to repair all the equipment for all the farmers around there. And there's a lot of oil and debris down there at the bottom. It is a hot spot, hazardous area, and you need to know that.
Thank you. Mary Sue, how much time does the applicant have to rebut?
The applicant has 12 minutes, 14 seconds.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair Morrissey, and members of the commission. Just a few items that I would like to highlight. Firstly, by listening to the testimony here tonight, you would think that our proposal was to develop Guahomie Regional Park. That is not the proposal, to be very clear. This is private property that is adjacent to the park, that is across a public street from the park, but there is no proposed impact to the park. The park will not be graded, it will not be thinned, there was no clearing. We fully appreciate and value the resource that is Guahomie Regional Park. In fact, 2 weeks ago, I took my 10-month-old son there. And it's beautiful. It's an amazing resource. And I think that's in part one of the reasons why the city zoned this site for housing, because we want individuals to be able to enjoy the public resources that we have in the city. And so what we are proposing is a single-family residential project consistent with the city's general plan and the zoning. We are not proposing any development on Guahomie Regional Park. And I know that there was a lot of discussion about the park, understandably, because it is a wonderful community resource. All we are attempting to do is to implement the city's general plan in a way that facilitates greater access. When you look at it, and I don't have a vicinity map, but I would encourage you all to look at a vicinity map. There are no fewer than 3 major subdivisions immediately to the north and to the south of this site. There's a lot of existing development in this area. And so a lot of the comments, while I completely appreciate the value of the park, I'm sure were arguments that were made against all of those developments as well. And many of the individuals perhaps that spoke live in those developments and are benefiting from the existence of those housing opportunities. So the individuals that would live and will live in this community of 83 new homes, they're not here. They're not able to be organized, but those people will undoubtedly benefit, again, consistent with the city's vision for the property, which is to construct single-family residential units. A couple of specific items that I wanted to mention. One, there was an email shown that was correspondence between the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. It implied there was some discussion with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. We communicated with the Fish and Wildlife Service as recently as a week and a half ago. They inquired about the status of the project, but at no time have they ever mentioned that the mitigation that is proposed was not acceptable to them. Now, that being said, we are going to engage in a very robust consultation process with those agencies, as is required by federal and state law. And we will consult with them, and should they determine that there is a better path or a legally required path, we will certainly do our very best to comply. We will be required. So there is a framework, there is a process by which we are required to go through that consultation. That cannot happen until the local environmental determination is made. So that is a process that will be to come, and it would be of our project or of any project. The on-site design was very intentionally and strategically created to avoid impacts to the sensitive biological resources that are on the site. That's why over 40% of the property is preserved as open space, and the vast majority of the development area, over 80%, is located on non-native grasslands. And that's exactly where it should be. And so we work to balance our impacts with the resources that are on site. With coastal sage scrub specifically, it's about 50-50. There's certain areas of the site that we are required to impact for fuel modification to make sure that the project is safe from a defensible space standpoint, but we do our very best to avoid it. We can't certainly avoid all of it, but we did our very best to locate housing in an area that makes the most sense to us. The city's EIR comprehensively analyzes evacuation, emergency response time, and a number of other issues. As an applicant, as any applicant, we are required to adhere to the existing city rules and regulations as they exist. There was a lot of conversation about policy items, and it's a great conversation to have. But our obligation is to make sure that we comply with the rules as they exist and as they are applied to this particular development. And the city's document makes very clear, there is no evidence in the record at all to suggest this project results in a significant health and safety impact that cannot be successfully mitigated. And we've worked for over 3 years on this project to do exactly that. And perceived safety impact are not significant and direct impacts as that term is defined in state law. I think that addresses the items that I wish to address, and of course, would be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, Commissioner Rosales?
Thank you, sir. I don't have any questions for you. I'll go ahead and step off and.
I have a question. Back to the
the property size is 16.78 acres. You're saving 6.9 acres. The rest of it, you're going to, mitigate at Quarry Creek. Where is that rest of that area that you have to mitigate? Like, does it actually connect your site to the Guahomie kind of area? Is that why you're having to mitigate? I forgot how many acres that is. It was 13 point something acres. You had to, how does that work on the site? Like, do you have a way you can show me?
Sure. I don't necessarily know that I have a map at my fingertips. But the reason the mitigation is required is because of the impact to coastal sage scrub, as many of the speakers noted. So there's 1.25 acres of scrub that will be impacted. Of that, about 0.2 of that acres is related to fuel modification. So that fuel mod area, that is not actually, we're not actually clearing that area, but it's technically characterized as an impact conservatively because there will be thinning that will go on there. There will be some maintenance that goes on, although all of that habitat will not be removed. The rest of it will be impacted in order to create the development pads in the development area. And so that's the reason why we're required to mitigate. The mitigation ratio, how many acres we are required to establish, whether it be offsite or elsewhere, that is prescribed by the resource agency. So there's a 2-to-1 mitigation ratio. So the agencies say, to the extent you are impacting, you need to replace 2 acres for every acre that you impact, and that is how we come up with the 6.
Okay. That makes sense. I was just thinking, is there some kind of connection with that meadow area that part of that is part of the mitigation? But it sounds like 2-to-1, meaning within that sensitive areas where you have to add the extra acres, right? That's what you're saying? Okay.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you. Remind me your name. I'm so sorry.
My name is Jonathan.
Jonathan. I'm curious about something that I hear you say repeatedly, that this project is fully consistent with the general plan and zoning, but you need several waivers, right? So, okay, to me, those sound different, right? Needing several waivers, it means that it's not fully consistent with the general plan and zoning because you need waivers. So that's just kind of rubbing me the wrong way. I have another question about the baseline density. Can I go ahead and ask that?
You got the floor.
Thank you. The package that we got from, I think this is Preserve Calavera, is that right? It's talking about an inflated baseline density calculation, that the land use element designates the site single-family detached and assigns a base density of 3.6 units per acre with a maximum potential density of 5.9 units per acre. But the applicant utilized the 5.9 units per acre to calculate the base density, yet the city's general plan provides that the base density for this site is 3.6 dwelling units per acre. The maximum potential density for the site is 5.9. Anyhow, there seems to be a disconnect there between 3.6 units per acre, 5.9 units per acre. Can you describe how you arrived at the 5.9?
Sure, I can, and I'd be happy to describe as well the way that the density bonus law functions. The density bonus law is part of a suite of housing laws. The Density Bonus Law, the Housing Accountability Act, the Housing Crisis Act, and the Permit Streamlining Act. All of these state statutes have been substantially revised in the last 5 years, and they kind of work in concert with one another. The Density Bonus Law allows applicants to receive waivers and incentives to the extent that application of those development standards would physically preclude the development as proposed. So the receipt of a waiver as a matter of law is not an inconsistency with the general plan or the zoning. So the statute expressly states that you are not deemed to be inconsistent with the general plan because you receive these benefits that are otherwise available to you under state law. So I know that's it's a super legalistic kind of wonky answer, and members of the public, they're like, but it's inconsistent if you didn't need the waiver. And I totally understand the confusion around it. But as a matter of law, that's just how the state treats these requests for all projects, not just ours. And so secondly, with respect to the density, that density bonus law, the section of the government code, specifically states that where there is a range of density, when you're calculating how many units you're able to put on the site, you are to use the highest number in that range. So that again is explicitly provided by state law. That would apply to all projects, not just ours. That where there is a range, you're going to use that higher number as your base. we did not utilize all of the density on this site that we were afforded. We are doing fewer units than we would otherwise be allowed to. And in fact, since we started processing this application, state law, AB 1287 has changed again, providing additional bonuses. So now you can get up to 100% bonus. So you could potentially do double the base density that would be allowed on the site. So that's not something that we considered here, but that is now, as a matter of state law, that is true. But that's how the density calculation was derived.
Commissioner Gonzalez, are you finished?
Yeah, for now. Thanks.
Commissioner Rosales.
Thanks. So the developer's correct. This is a private property ripe for development. We were all given information on the dais here that I looked at while all the speakers, by the way, speakers, thank you for coming out tonight. All good input, all good comments. We appreciate your willingness to show up tonight. One of the items that was offered to us to look through was an advertisement for this land for sale. Doesn't give the year, but looking through it, I would suggest maybe it was about 4 or 5 years ago. In the materials advertising the land for sale, it noted that the property had been progressed pretty far along back in about the 2007, 2008 timeframe, from what I can gather, to develop homes on the site. At that point, the home development project was going to develop about 33 homes, residential homes on that property, which I think probably fits a little bit better with the community out there. Obviously, the changed equation here is the state density bonus equation, which has changed a lot of developments in the area and has caused this body here a great deal of angst and anxiety as these developments come forward. So for me, that's kind of the baseline of kind of what I want to say before I close out. I'll go back to what I said earlier about the overlay districts, the scenic park and the equestrian overlays. I don't feel qualified. They're asking for a waiver. I don't feel qualified to be able to say, hey, I'm just going to ignore that and approve this project. That's a policy set in motion or set in place long before I sat on this board by the city council. If the city council wants to do that, let the city council do that. I don't feel like that's my role here. So that is for me kind of the starting point of saying I really can't support the project. If the project was changed and it reflected more of the scale of what was projected maybe 15, 20 years ago, 33 homes, maybe that would be a little more palatable to the community. This one certainly doesn't. So I feel like on that basis, I feel like I, again, don't have the qualifications to be able to say, I'm just going to ignore those overlay districts and go ahead and approve it.
Commissioner Dodds.
Yes, I have a question for John. I'll give you a moment to get to the lectern. Commissioner Rosales makes a very good point. I don't have those qualifications either as concerning the overlay, but I do want to at least get some understanding as to how were you impacted in a way that you felt that you needed to request the waiver for the equestrian overlay.
Yeah, maybe I can shed some additional light on the overlay standards and kind of what they are. So there are a few objective development standards. So just like the zoning code has setbacks and height restrictions, there are a number of additional requirements related to horses. So there's a minimum lot size requirement. You have to have a stable of a certain size. Your fencing has to be of a certain dimension. And so all of those standards, I think they're understandable in the context of the typical city development standard. So what we're not asking you to do is make a determination about policy. These waiver requests are no different than any other waiver request that you've seen in any other density bonus project. There's a minimum lot size that is required. We are not able to fit the number of units that state law prescribes are acceptable on this site and have the lots be bigger. We are not able to accommodate stables for horses and fit the units that we would be allowed to build pursuant to state law. So the waivers are not, again, related to policy. They're related to lot size, the requirements related to horse keeping, stables, fencing, those sorts of standards that we can't physically accommodate, and also include the 4 very low income houses that we are providing in the project.
So does this waiver directly affect the existing horses and horse owners in the area currently?
So we're only aware of a handful of owners in the area, but I want to also make clear that the maps that were shown, there is, of course, wonderful equestrian trails in Guahomie Lake Park. There is no equestrian trail or facility or linkage on this particular property. People do not ride their horses on this property. If there was a crossing, as is suggested, I don't know where you would go, other than there is one property owner immediately adjacent to the site that does have horses. Other than that, there's no one that touches this particular property immediately immediately on our property lines that have horses currently. And so the park, the equestrian trails, that access will remain as it is in existing condition. There is no impact on the equestrian facilities in Guahomie Lake.
Okay, thank you. I'm a city guy. I really don't understand that. I think I've ridden a horse maybe twice in my entire life, but I enjoy when I go through the area and I see people riding horses. I think it's pretty cool. And the one thing I really don't want to see is them being impacted in any way. So if that's where we're at, but like I said, I just look at what we're doing and what we're trying to do. We're trying to build homes so we can have more affordable homes or more homes available. But we still have to look at how we're impacting the existing neighborhoods. And when you have horses, then they have these trails. And like I said, I'm ignorant to this. This is not my forte, but I really would like to make sure that we're not impacting in a way when we're bringing these homes in that are necessary. Thank you.
I have a question. To Tom's point, Phil Bucola was the engineer when that development was being done. Lorette Sutter, I think, is the engineer now. What's interesting is it was 34, how many years ago was that?
It doesn't say. I'm guessing around the recession time, 2008 maybe.
And today, without any density bonus, I believe it's 74 homes.
Right.
And now you're saying they're changing the law again. So, it puts us in a real bad situation where, you're suggesting 9 more homes. And so all the things that y'all have brought up tonight would all be affected with 74 homes, which is the legal right for this owner. And, I believe in the Constitution and the right to private property. And if you own the property, and if you are developing something that is per the law, you should be able to do that. I have a hard time. And by the way, I went out to that property. It's a beautiful area. I'd never been out there before, and I'm going to be going out there more. But it's a shame. But we need to. We didn't need to change Sacramento because that's the problem. And if it was up to Sacramento, well, I won't go down that road. But I do have a question for you. Why are the 2 entrances so close together? Why can't you spread those out onto the loop?
It's a great question, Chair Morrissey. The primary reason is site distance requirements. Because of the S-curve and the bend in the road, we want to make sure that we have adequate site distance as vehicles enter and exit the site. So there's a minimum intersection spacing requirement that we meet, and we want to make sure that we meet site distance. And so if we were pushing them further away, it could be the case that you could not see around the curve for that cars that are heading westbound on Guam.
Well, but did you look at it that way? Would you lose a lot if you moved it away? It just seems so close together. It's just like, it's just going to be everything's going to cluster right there.
Yeah, we evaluated it to comply with the city's objective standards, but we'd be happy to take a look at alternatives.
Okay.
I don't know. We have not. We were obligated to comply with the standard, and we did. But we would be happy to take a look at alternatives. Happy to do that.
Okay. So I see no other. Commissioner Obama.
I have a curious question. Like, as when I first drove onto Guahomie Lake Road, I drove by that development at Old Ranch Road and was surprised to see that development not be like a equestrian overlay at all. So was that development built before 1991? Well, the one at Old Ranch Road, I drove that community and didn't see any horse evidence on anything. So I just wondered why that would have been able. So now it kind of makes sense. If it was built before 1991, the overlay was done in 1991, right? That was when it was established, the equestrian overlay. That's what the staff report said, at least.
Commissioner Obama, thank you for the question. I would have to look into when that subdivision was approved, but I do understand your train of thought in terms of the equestrian overlay.
Because it was like when I drove that road and I saw that, it kind of shocked me, like, wow, this is like not supposed to be here, but it is. And so that's kind of gave me more of a positive thing about this development. Like, well, if that's there, then this one's not much different. But when you look at the equestrian overlay at Jeffrey's Ranch and you drive around the rest of the community, I just felt like a little bit like my own neighborhood. I live in Southmore Hills, and so it's like it's important that we kind of have these overlays to give us that breathing space, to give nature and the animals and the birds their walkways and their ways to access the lakes and everything. And this site does provide that right through it. So it just seems like, if it was a equestrian overlay with 30-something houses, that seems like it would probably fit, and it would still provide that. So I just have angst. Like when I first looked at this project in the very beginning, before I even came to this dais, that was kind of a negative thing to me, like taking away something that's been established by other people because they came to live in this area and this was important to them, to live in an equestrian overlay, and we're just going to take that away, even if there is a density bonus project, whatever it is. I kind of feel like, I don't care. I'm not going to vote for this project because I wouldn't want it to be in my neighborhood.
No, the public time is over, so you're out of order. So I think we'll bring it back to the commission and let's discuss it. And does anybody have any more discussion? We'll wait. No?
Oh, no, I don't have anything else to say.
Okay, well then I'll entertain a motion.
Yeah.
Well, if Chair Morrissey, if you would be so gracious, I can make a motion. Again, thank the audience for their participation this evening. Again, we have a project that we're struggling with that has the density bonus attached to it. There's so many things about this project that could be different, and I guess that's where I'm coming from. I'd rather see a reboot. Again, Chair Morrissey makes a good point. This is a developable project or parcel that if density bonus wasn't in play, I think the number that was tossed around would be, 70-something homes. So
74.
We have history that says somebody contemplated 30-something homes.
So 33 or 34.
So that's, I think, would, again, be more palatable. Again, I'm stuck on the whole overlay issue. I don't feel that I want to mess with that. So those two are enough for me to say, let's try this again. And hopefully we get a little bit clearer direction from the city council or staff to be able to say, yeah, you can overlook the overlay stuff and this is compatible with it and so forth. So I'll make a motion that we,
Well, if
go
you're
ahead.
going to do
If
that,
I may-
I would also like to say that I would like the two interests so close together, if we're going to, postpone this, that also be looked at.
Okay. Chair Morrissey, I think Darlene has a
Director.
question.
Yes, I just wanted to also just let you know that one way that is perhaps clean for the record is for the Planning Commission to consider just certification of the EIR. No, I just mean that if I could just finish what I'm saying.
Time is over. Director, please proceed.
If the commission decides that they do not want to approve certification of the EIR, what would happen is, at the next planning commission, we bring forward that denial for consideration.
Okay, so can we discuss that? So,
And please, if our city attorney could kind of add on to that to help explain.
Just, I'm not sure what motion is being contemplated, but if it's going to be different from what is from the proposed resolutions that are in the staff report, then we will need to have the reasons for the different motion. Like if it's going to be project denial or a vote not to certify the EIR, for example, the reasons for that will have to be set forth. The findings we'll need to have certain the reasoning behind the denial, and then staff would bring that back at the next planning commission with a resolution that's consistent with the commission's decision and commission's action for them to consider adopting that resolution. But all I'm saying is that it's going to have to come back if that's what the motion. Because I'm not sure if your motion was going to be to continue the matter. I don't know what the motion's going to be. But if it's going to be that's something different and taking action on the project, then we're going to need to know what the findings are, what the reasons are for
And
that
so we
action.
could contemplate two motions, one that tackles the EIR and separately the project.
That's how the resolutions are set forth right now. One is a resolution to certify the EIR and adopt the findings and the mitigation monitoring programming, that whole thing. And then there's a separate resolution that approves the project. So if you were to take on the resolution for the EIR, the environmental document should be done first, because you have to, the law requires that you consider the environmental impacts before you take action on a project. So if the decision were to not certify the EIR, then there would be no action needed to be taken on the project, because you shouldn't take action on the project until you've considered the EIR.
Okay,
The
well,
environmental impacts.
I'll attempt this, and then we can always, so I'll make, my first motion then would be to certify the EIR and adopt the findings and adopt Planning Resolution 2025P23.
Is there a second? Barbara,
Yeah.
I can second that, can I? I'll second that motion. All right, please vote.
Let the record show that the motion does not pass. Four no.
So my
4 noes
understanding
and 2
then
yeses.
is that so Barbara, at this point, do we give whys that it was denied? because I'm going to ask those that voted against it to give them.
Well, again, can I
Sure.
jump in? So
Commissioner Rosales.
I think making a motion to approve the EIR, and then if there's a second motion to deny the project, doesn't mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, Barbara or staff, doesn't mean that we have any issue, or in this case, I have any issue, Tom doesn't have any issue with the EIR itself. Maybe it's a bit flawed. Where I was going with this was to make a motion to potentially deny the project. So that's how I see it. So obviously my colleagues perhaps don't see it that way. Do I have that right? I guess I'm asking city attorneys for some feedback, if you can.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what decision would be appealed, right? Because from here, one side or the other, so I'm assuming that the applicant would appeal the decision to city council, and so if you take no action, because the EIR has not been certified, there was not a vote to certify the EIR, it could just go straight to, and you would take no action on the project because the EIR hasn't been certified.
Right.
Then that would be the decision, I think, that would be appealed. I mean, I'd be happy to hear from the applicant in terms of how you're looking at this, or if planning staff.
Thank you, City Attorney Hamilton. So I think if it's the desire of the commission to deny the project, I think our preference would be to hear a motion on denial and a vote and be able to appeal that to the city council. So we would also, though, appreciate the commission attempting to make the findings that are required by law as to why, to Chair Morrissey's point, as to why the commission feels that they cannot make the findings that are required by the government code and the Housing Accountability Act relative to the project.
Thank you. So, those that voted no, Kevin, can you tell me, I mean, what in the EIR do you disagree with that you would not certify the EIR?
Well, after listening to Ms. Nygaard, there were some, I would say, questions that I have. I won't say discrepancies, but there are questions that I have that I would like to hear more information on.
Well, we're going to have to, I think what we're going to have to list some things that are concrete. So, I mean.
Okay, well, give me a minute. Let me go back to her.
Commissioner Gonzalez, can you?
Sure. I find the report that we got on behalf of Preserve Calavera very compelling. The information in here that this project is not infill. I still have questions about the baseline density calculation. That's a couple. How many? Is that enough?
That's what you have. So who's our scribe here? Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so again, agreeing that the infill was a little bit confusing, that they had this as an infill project. And also, we had a number of people who are quote unquote experts in the environmental issues that said that the study was not up to date. And so trying to read through that in the time that we had, which is a pretty large document, I didn't think that we got enough clear understanding on that. And I don't believe that the developer also made adequate communication with the community as far as the questions that they had. mainly with the safety concerns. I understand they don't control the road, they don't control people speeding and doing things, horseplaying and things of that nature. But I believe that the the EIR needs to be looked at a little closer. I don't believe it answered the questions that we're looking for.
Commissioner Obama.
Agree with what has already been stated as far as the reasons why. I mean, it's environmental issues. Like it's just all of that, the whole movement of the animals and plants and everything else that's going on there. I just think it needs to be looked at again because this is important. This is a really, this is a sensitive area. This is like Guahomie Lake. This is like, we don't have very many of those in Oceanside. This is kind of a sensitive thing, and I just want to make sure it's really looked at maybe another time. I just think this is a really hard one. I'm not against density bonus projects. I'm not against development, but in this case, it's Guahomie Lake, it's equestrian overlay. It's got too many sensitive hot buttons for me, so I just...
So, Director, then, my understanding is that we made some points and now we're done with this issue and we go to the next item.
Yes, Chair Morrissey, I believe that we have enough information to draft the findings to come back with at the next Planning Commission meeting.
Okay, we'll go to the next item. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. Yeah. We're going to take a 10-minute break. Let's get back at, what is it, 8? What time is it, Mary Sue? Break time.
Recording
8:33.
stopped.
Let's come back at 8:43. That's well, no, when you read the information.
I know, I saw that, but I'm just saying that with an equestrian overlay, you can put that in your housing.
Yeah.
33, again, would be probably more acceptable.
That's why with the equestrian overlay was priced 33, whatever you saw.
Yeah.
Okay,
I believe that. Because with that site, there's no way you can put 77 homes. With the way that the horse corral thing works and all that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know what that overlay dictates, how that changes. But when they get, the width is lesser and the depth is more. Okay. And that's how they got all those houses in. Yeah, okay. Let's see, where are we? Can we start back up again?
Recording in progress.
Folks in the back, could you exit? Thank you. Okay. Item number 5 is nominate a planning commissioner representative for the Downtown Advisory Committee for a 3-year term. Commissioner Obama.
Well, I would like to nominate one of my fellow commissioners for that role. I think that he would do a fine job. Oh, it's a he. I already said he. Sorry about that, Emily. I didn't want to give it away. Anyway, I'd like to nominate Tom Rosales to see if he'd like to do it. I'm not sure if you would, Tom, but you're a pretty good candidate for that. What do you think, Tom? Would you take that term?
Humbly.
Right.
I will. I would do it. Yes.
All right, cool. Then I nominate Tom.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Anybody else interested?
Yeah. It's open.
Okay, then can we, all in favor, vote. See? I don't know if we have to vote. Yeah, we can vote.
Okay.
All right.
Go ahead.
Let the record show the motion passes 5,
Vote for
1
yourself.
abstain.
You can vote for yourself.
There's no shame.
It means you really want to do it.
That's right. Okay, good. All right. You'll do a very good job, I know. Okay. Item 6 is adoption of Planning Commission 25-26 and 26-27 work plan. And Darlene, did you want to?
Sure. Thank you so much, Chair Morrissey. This item is brought before you based on the request at the last commission meeting. As you can see in the staff report, it goes into what the proposed work plan is, but there is an attachment that I'd like to note. It is dated August 11th, 2025, that when considering the work plan for the next 2 fiscal years, the Planning Commission expressed a desire to discuss topics that could serve as a subject of public workshops with the City Council. And so there are 10 topics of discussion that were noted for us to convey to the City Council. And so wanted to make sure that the commission was still good with that, and if there were any further changes to the proposed work plan.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Darlene, can I ask whether or not staff shared any of this with the council or the council's reps, that they know that we're interested in doing this, so we created this list, or is this going to catch them like, not by surprise, but are they going to be?
Well, based on some previous commission communication and things said during the commission discussion on certain projects, I think the council understands that you wish to have this discourse, but no, I have not shared this specific list of projects with them.
Then that's fine, but because I think this list reflects some of the, if not all of the ideas and things that we've struggled with a bit here on occasion. So from my point of view, I think it's a really good list. I think everybody took time to think about what we wanted to talk to the council about. Not that we'll get around maybe to all of them. And so maybe before that first, just a suggestion, before that first meeting with them is prioritize what do we really want to talk about. I think for me, it's the density bonus law and their position on those things. But anyway, we can do that at a later date. Hopefully we can get something scheduled soon. Thanks, Chair.
Barbara, do we need a formal vote on the work plan because the staff's recommendation is to review and recommend City Council approval?
Let the record show it passes unanimously.
I'll second.
The motion passes unanimously.
take that back. I do want to bring one thing up. We're talking about traffic easing, calming, I guess, on Cameo. One of my neighbors brought that up. So what I recommended that person do, I guess there's a group of concerned citizens that are in that area, and they put a report together. So I told them what they should do. I'm just bringing it up now that I guess on Cameo, kind of close to our house, that people drive pretty quickly in there, and they've got houses on both sides, and it's a connection between the college and it's their school. Yeah. So yeah, that's my report, Commissioner Gonzalez.
I just wanted to kind of lift up the city staff and Public Works for some work that they were doing in our neighborhood on Rancho Pacifica. They are recabling, putting in new fiber optics in the entire neighborhood, and everybody was just wonderful. All of the staff were great, and all of the workers were friendly, and it was just, like a block party. So, thank you.
No report.
I was just going to say that, North River Farms, which is our big project in South Morro Hills, is going full bananas. It's really, coming together. But one thing, and of course I was always against it, but one thing I want to say in positive, though, is that they took upon themselves to recognize the farming community of South Morro Hills by naming the streets all after, like, Milano, Nagata, their family, their matriarchs, like Giovanni, which is the father. So I thought that was kind of a nice gesture on Integral's part to use the farming heritage of that area and then name the streets as such. So anyway.
Nothing to report.
I don't know if you all had a chance to. I didn't see a lot of people to go to the National Night Out. It was an awesome event. I had to park like 5 blocks away, but it had a really good turnout, and people just, a lot of kids. I saw a lot of kids out there really enjoying that, so I thought that was it was just put on real nice.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair Morrissey. I just wanted to announce that we have had an active recruitment for both the city planner and the principal planner positions, and that recruitment ends this Friday. So we're hoping that we get a good number of qualified candidates and can start interviews soon.
Okay, our next meeting, regularly scheduled meeting, will be Monday, August 25th.
Pardon? No more Sergio, no more Bob. Yeah, they both got pushed.
Recording stopped.
Yeah, situation, an activist person filmed